Olá, eu sou André Sampaio, idealizador e organizador do Kona PNL. Eu estou realmente lisonjeado e até mesmo emocionado de apresentar essa grande pessoa e grande profissional internacional dos Estados Unidos que eu tive o enorme prazer de entrevistar. Eu acredito que qualquer um que, depois de ver o Stephenson, reavalia seus próprios limites e aquelas desculpas que nós damos a nós mesmos. Eu sou fã do Stephenson e ele é uma das grandes mentes que eu sigo pessoalmente e que fazem a diferença na minha vida. Se você ainda não conhece, só para te dar uma introdução da história dele, os médicos disseram que ele morreria logo após nascer. O Chan enfrentou um exército de razões para desistir e inúmeras oportunidades para abraçar a autopiedade. Ele sofreu mais de 200 fraturas até os 18 anos de idade e atingiu uma altura de apenas 90 centímetros. Está permanentemente confinado a uma cadeira de rodas. Apesar de seus desafios, ele adotou uma postura que inspirou milhões de pessoas ao redor do mundo, incluindo Tony Robbins, o Sir Richard Branson, presidente Bill Clinton, Sua Santidade o 14º Dalai Lama. O Stephenson enfrentou vários desafios e superou muitos obstáculos no seu caminho para se tornar um autor de sucesso, psicoterapeuta respeitado e grande palestrante motivacional. Simplesmente inigualável. Eu passaria horas conversando com ele se eu pudesse. Ele é um grande modelo do poder da nossa mente. Aproveite, senhores e senhoras, Stephenson. How are you?
I'm very well.
Oh, now I see you. It's a great honor and pleasure to talk to you. Now I see you, it's better, even better.
Oh, perfect. So, my friend, let me close my windows on my computer here so that I have an undivided attention for you. In today's generation, there's a million things pulling at our attention. Let's see here. Quit this. Let's close my mail program. Quit mail. Put my phone on airplane mode. Close this contract. Okay. I'm here.
Great. So, I'm already recording. You can hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, just close this. Okay. So I first would thank you very much for being here, taking your time to talk with me, to people in Brazil. As you know, this seminar is for NLP. It's a National NLP Online Convention, and we are targeting executives and entrepreneurs and on how to do better in business. So I think we have a lot to learn with you. I'm very honored because I would like also to thank you for being such an inspiration for me in my life. I first know you when I read your book. I listened to you in your audiobook, Get Off Your Butt.
Yeah, I think my book is either coming out or is already out in Portuguese. Do they speak Portuguese where you live?
In Brazil, but I saw it, it's in Portugal. It's not Brazilian Portuguese. But
okay.
I didn't find it in Brazil. But I downloaded in Kindle, so in Amazon. It's great book.
Thank you.
And I would really like to thank you for being an inspiration and tell that when I saw you, I started to hear your book and I didn't know you. So I really like it. So I Googled you and started to watch everything you've done in your life, and even said, wow, this is that guy in Eben Pagan's program. It wasn't you?
It was.
Yeah. I said, oh my God. And in that moment, I felt the little man in the wheelchair. So you always say that, and I felt like so blessed to have such an example in life of overcoming limits and being a great man. So to start our conversation, I'd like you to talk about yourself, your background, and how you become, what you did to become the 3-foot giant.
Well, it's a work in progress. It's not come easy. It's also been extremely rewarding. You know, I was born with a condition physically that brought a lot of interesting scenarios into my life. You know, I'm only about 3 feet tall, and I use a wheelchair to get around. And I've had a lot of physical pain and surgeries and complications with my body. And, you know, for some reason, mostly probably because of good parenting on my parents' part, but I was raised to believe that my condition was not some kind of curse from the heavens, that I was bad in a previous life or something, and that this is my retribution, or this is my consequence. I was raised to believe that my condition, the physical body that I am in, is actually a great gift. You know, in NLP, they talk about pattern interrupts. Mm-hmm. And my appearance is a pattern interrupt to almost anyone I come across. There are very few people that look like me, and because of that, it jolts people's regular, ongoing conversation that they're having in their head, and they get out of their head and they look at me and they observe my physical appearance first, and then they observe how I carry myself and what I say, and then they look a little deeper like you did and Google me, and they realize that I've actually done a lot with my life and I'm continuing to do more. And it's hopefully an example. You know, I've kind of taken on the motto that I want to be an example of human potential for humanity. And by no means am I trying to be perfect, or am I trying to say that, you know, I have it all figured out. I certainly don't. I'm learning about my life and myself every single day, but I still keep moving forward even when I'm scared, even when I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I just keep moving forward, and I think that's what potentially separates me from a lot of people, is that I don't allow myself to feel self-pity for very long. Of course, I feel it at times, but I snap myself out of it quickly, and that's kind of been my trademark, to go out into the world and show people that they don't have to feel sorry for themselves, no matter what their condition, whether they're, you know, a race that gets discriminated against, or a sexual orientation that gets discriminated against, or an economic level that gets discriminated against, that no matter what you're up against, you don't have to feel sorry for yourself. And so this evolution into the 3-foot giant, well, that was a term that I didn't even come up with. It was something that one of the producers of my former television show said, you know, let's create a title that is contrast to it, you know, like a jumbo shrimp, or, you know, a 3-foot giant is, it's a little bit of an oxymoron, right? It's not very possible, but when you go into it intellectually, you realize it is. And the height of a human being is not the same as power and presence. And that extends way beyond your body. Because I've met many people that are well over 6 feet tall that you would swear were only 1 inch high, because they didn't believe in themselves. And so I've been blessed to have a career for over 20 years now, or almost 20 years now, traveling the world, writing books, giving speeches, doing online webinars, and sharing this message that whatever it is that you think is holding you back, it's not. It's your belief about that thing that's holding you back, which is why I love studying NLP, and it's why I got a degree and a doctorate in clinical hypnosis, and I'm a trainer of neurolinguistic programming, because I believe those two behavioral sciences work hand in hand to really cause personal transformation.
Mm-hmm. And you said that the limiting beliefs, I personally believe that the biggest disability a man can have is the limiting beliefs. There's no physical limitations. You approve of that. No physical limitations can limit what a man can do.
Right.
And so how you deal with limiting beliefs? How can we overcome that?
Sure. So I've been doing a bit of an overhaul on this opinion for about a year now. And my old opinion was to just use a bunch of NLP tactics, like do things like, it's been a while since I've used NLP terms. I do it just so unconsciously now, where you swish patterns, where you have one belief fly into the next. You could do the terms aren't coming to my mind right this second, but where you do crossovers, where you think of, a food that makes you feel disgusted, and then you link a belief to that disgusting food, and then you don't want to think that belief because it's linked up now to that sensation. And I used to think that it was all about running these psychological patterns, and while I think that that's a good start, and I don't discredit them at all, I found that there's another way, and maybe there's a concept in NLP that would better articulate this, but I just call it self-care. That when we do self-care, when we put together a list of items, my list is right here on the board, and it's about 16 items that are action-oriented based, that when I do them, I feel better about my life. They're things like hydrate, exercise, journal, spend time with mentors, get a good night's rest, keep myself hygiened and groomed, stay organized, have lots of vegetables, all these simple things. I've just found that when you've done a ton of mind, body, spirit, self-care, then those limiting beliefs, those fears, those excuses, those insecurities, they don't have any breeding ground. They don't have any fertile soil to grow in, and they stay dormant because, and maybe there's a lot of people in NLP that would disagree with me on this, and that's fine, but I've just found that our limiting beliefs or excuses or fears or insecurities, all that muck, I don't think it ever goes away. I think it either gets fed and grows, or it gets starved and just remains dormant. No different than the fact that medicine now says that we all have cancer cells living inside of our body, but we can live and act in a certain way that will trigger them or that won't trigger them. And the same thing with all that negative, heavy energy and limiting beliefs. I believe that when we're taking care of ourselves, when we're doing what I call the when life works list, that's your series of things that you do when your life is working. When you return to those things, and you don't have to do them all at once, you just pick a few of them a day, your life and stays in better balance. You stay focused, and you stay, your head and your vision stays more clear around what you want. And so, yes, I think that there's a time and place to do swish patterns. I think there's a time and place to collapse anchors. I think that these are all great tools in the moment to jolt yourself out of a state. I really think that the overarching is, what kind of self-care are you doing? Whenever my life turns miserable, it's because I'm not taking good care of myself.
Mm-hmm. When my life is turning miserable, I watch the dance party. And I immediately pump it up.
So that would be on your When Life Works list. So there you go.
Yes. And another thing I would ask you is about self-confidence. You're such a self-confident man, and you speak to thousands of people and go out, hang with friends, and now you're married, but you're successful with woman. And so what can you say? Because I believe that in a business environment, the self-confidence many times limit us and prevent us to do more, to make the call, to ask for the sale, or to create a partnership, anything. So about self-confidence.
Well, I believe that self-confidence is the result of taking acts of courage. You know, one of my mentors, Dr. Paul Dombrowski, he talks about how every time you take an act of courage, meaning you do something that scares you, that's for your benefit, and doesn't even matter what the result, what the outcome is, when you've done something that you were scared to do, you gain a point in confidence. And so when you meet somebody that has just a ton of confidence, there's no accident. Because if it's true confidence, if it's not faked, vibrato, cocky, puffed out chest, if it's true, authentic confidence, that is a person that has faced a lot of their fears. And it didn't even matter what happened as they faced their fears. They gained the point of confidence because they took the act of courage. So I'm a big believer that to get more confidence, you have to do more things that scare you. And I'm always working on that. I'm releasing a program right now that scares me to release. I'm teaching people how to have a career like mine in speaking, and I'm going out into the world and I'm proclaiming now that I'm a trainer in speaking and teaching people how to get $10,000 or more an hour as a speaker. And, that's scary to throw that out there for the first time. But I know that if it scares me, that's the exact thing I need to be doing, no matter what the outcome. It doesn't matter how many people sign up and show up. What matters is that I go through with it, that I don't back down. I'll give you another example. I have always gotten on airplanes with my friends, my family, my spouse. I've always been on airplanes with people I knew. I never traveled by myself. And that may not sound like a big deal, but when you're 3 feet tall in a wheelchair and you got to get on the plane and you need help with your luggage and all that, it's quite an ordeal. And one day I thought, well, what if I got on an airplane all by myself? What if I figured up a way through the kindness of strangers and asked people to help me if I did this, if I put myself into a position that really scares me. And I bought the airplane ticket and I was all ready to go, and then I got scared and I didn't go. And I had an excuse. I said it was because of business, and the truth is that I knew that I was scared. Uh-huh. And so a couple months passed and I missed that flight, and then I thought, you teach people to be courageous. What are you doing? You're not living up to your example. Mm-hmm. And so I bought another airplane ticket, and this time I got on that airplane and I flew to my destination, and I learned that I survived and I had a good time, and then I made friends with people on the flight and asked them for their support and help, and I found that, human beings, they don't need to know me personally to want to help me out. I guarantee you, if you didn't know who I was and you didn't have any background on my expertise, but you were sitting on an airplane next to me, if I asked you to hand me my bag, you would. Most people who have any form of a soul would do so. And so it's more about trusting the universe for me. It's more about knowing that I will be taken care of, even around people that don't even know me. And that was a big boost in my confidence, because I had that on the top of my list of things that scared me. That scared me more than getting on inside of a tank, like a shark tank and a shark cage, and having a shark swim around me. because, I'm not as much afraid of death as I am freedom. By being truly on my own and doing things that I was confined when I was younger because of my disability, that scares me far more than death. I faced death numerous times. Death will be a peaceful conclusion to a well-lived life. I'm more scared of success, of growing, of being held to a higher standard.
Great, great. And so you're talking about fear, and I saw you talking about pain. You have an interesting perspective about pain.
Well, according to my book is what I'm guessing you're talking about, which is that pain is my teacher. Is that what you're mentioning?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And it's true. Pain is our teacher because it's the ultimate magical fairy of presence. When you're going through your life and you're chaotic and you're not present and you're just scattered, and then all of a sudden you hit pain, it brings you into the moment. It brings you into the now. It forces you to look at your life, look at your container, look at your condition, look at your peer group, look at your finances, look at your health, look at your relationships. It forces you to look at whatever is causing you pain. And that, I think, is phenomenal. I don't think it's the only way to be in a space of presence. I think we can do it through meditation. We can do it through prayer. We can do it through exercise. There's a lot of other ways we can meet presence that doesn't have to be so painful, but pain does serve a purpose. Pain puts our attention on what we've probably been ignoring. What we may not have known needed our attention. And so I'm a big believer that pain has molded me into a man who is a lot more fearless than most, potentially, because, pain is about not being able to get away. When you're in pain, if you choose to not numb yourself, you have to be so here right now. A couple months ago, I had a tooth extraction, and they kept shooting up the nerve, the gum, with as much Novocaine as they could, but they couldn't get it back far enough. And so when they removed the tooth, it pretty much didn't have much Novocaine in it. And it was excruciating, and I was crying. I mean, I was 30, at the time I was a 34-year-old man, and I've got tears running down my face, and I'm whimpering, and the dentist is just like, I need you to hang in there. We need to get this out. It's decayed. And even though it hurt, I knew that we had to continue, that I couldn't just stop in the middle of it. That sometimes the best ways to handle pain is to keep going, to go through to the other side. And when that tooth came out, yes, it hurt in the process of healing back up again, but the healing could begin. And whatever it is that's painful in your life, sometimes we have to go through it to the other side. We can't retreat and run away just because it's uncomfortable. And I'm not saying to stay in abusive situations. I'm saying to stay in situations where you have to keep moving forward because the only way out is through.
Yeah, you talk about being uncomfortable. Eben Pagan always says that growth only happens outside your comfort zone. So
definitely.
Experiencing pain, it's a way to grow and to being more, even confident, more confident.
Yeah. In fact, I'm a big believer that your dreams are held at bay, held back by your comfort zones. That the more you live inside your comfort zone, and everybody's comfort zone looks different. Some people's comfort zones are eating. Some people, just eating whenever they're hungry and whenever they want. Some people's comfort zones are not socializing, staying inside. Some people's comfort zones are just doing what they're good at, but never trying anything that they've never given a go at. Only doing what they know. And whatever your comfort zone is, the things that you really ultimately desire are going to be outside of that, as you were mentioning what Eben said. And Eben's been a wonderful mentor of mine, and I've seen him definitely get outside of his comfort zones over the years, and he's challenged me to get outside of mine.
Yeah, and I'm trying to do as well. And now I have to confess you that I'm way out of my comfort zone. Way out.
Good.
So I'm getting a point on confidence.
Yes, you are.
Yeah. So I saw you talk to Joe Polish in a group of his program, I Love Marketing. And I think you could share with us something about your insights on marketing.
Well, what do you want to know?
You told, I just saw it. I can't remember what you said there, but you saw the three things that I can tell about marketing. You told about some commercial you did, zoom in, zoom out, and
Yeah, you're referring to the little YouTube commercial I made that got me onto Jimmy Kimmel Live.
Yes.
And which is a nighttime talk show here in the States, in the U.S. And it was an idea that I had. I had a dream one night. I was putting together a men's program. It was a membership site online, and I was teaching men about how to attract women. And I thought, what if I made fun little commercials that were challenging men to get out of their comfort zones, and I put them up on YouTube. And so I put up my first one, and in that video, I talked about being discriminated against in the employee work, being held back from being hired from companies, and how I had to build my own company to deal with that. I talk about how I was told that I was weak and frail because of my condition, and so I went and worked out and built up a muscular body. And I talked about how they said I would never find love, and I was kissing a girl in the video. And I said, what are they saying about you, and what are you doing about it? That was a little video I made, and that video, within a few days, was picked up by a producer on the Jimmy Kimmel Show and shown to Jimmy, and he said, let's have this guy on our show. And just doing something that only had a few hundred views on YouTube got me worldwide exposure, because I think they also play that in other countries. And so, I'm a big believer that marketing, it's not always about doing the big things. People are really impressed that I had a TV show, but when I open up the truth and I tell them that, I made a TV show and it was played around the country, but only probably about 300,000 people saw it. And yet I made a little commercial on YouTube that only had about 50 people watching it, but because one of those 50 was the right person for exposure, it got me in front of millions of people. And I got hundreds of thousands of dollars of free advertisement because of a little commercial that I did that cost me nothing, that was a little goofy, but I knew could potentially help people. And so when it comes to marketing, I'm always looking at the stuff that everybody else is overlooking. Everybody wants to get on the big talk shows, and they think that by going on the talk shows, their career is going to be made. But that's not how it works. It's about doing the little things day in and day out. Being on a interview of a guy in Brazil that I've never met before, and talking to him for about an hour about my life, and who knows how many people are going to see this. I have no idea. I don't know how big your audience is going to be, and it really doesn't matter, because there's going to be somebody in that audience that is going to be hopefully helped by something I say, as well as that may have something in their life that could help me, So I'm always open-minded to do the things that other people are overlooking. That marketing is not about spending a ton of money to buy people's votes. That it's about doing things grassroots. It's about doing things that are very organic, that spread because it's just good messaging.
Mm-hmm. So it's just share value and give value, and even it eventually.
And I mean, there's also an angle in marketing that you have to do things that are unique to you,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to look at. We're in an entertainment-driven society that the way you get elected a president or sell a product or get somebody to come to your seminar, it's the same stuff. You got to create something that's catchy. You got to create something that cuts through the noise of their day-to-day experience and gets them to pay attention and keep their attention and get them to actually take action. That, in marketing, they say one of the hardest experiences ever is to have somebody reach into their wallet
Mm-hmm.
and pull out their credit card and, hand them the credit card. That's one of the hardest things in the human experience because this is our value. This is the stuff we worked hard for. And so if we're going to exchange it with somebody else for something, we want to make sure it's worth it. And so you have to build that trust with people by bringing value to them ahead of time. And the best marketers in the world understand this. And I'm continuing to understand this myself.
Yeah, and you do that, and I watch our podcast, Recharge with Stephenson. It's great.
Awesome, thank you.
It's great value for free, and
I'm glad you find it.
another thing, I saw you in another podcast, and you told a story of yours that you put you in a vulnerable position about the hiking story on when you were brutally honest with your wife about your insecurity. And I'd like to share this story. It's a great story, and ask you if, well, please share, and then I ask you.
Sure. Well, I think you're referring to an interview that I did with Lewis Howes. Does that sound right?
That's it.
And so you definitely did your homework on me here. And I talked about in that interview, Lewis is a good buddy of mine. He's got a very successful podcast called School of Greatness. So if you're interested, check that out, whoever's listening to this. But I talked about how I have this backpack. This is an example of it that I keep on my wheelchair. And it was not this one, but this other one that I had was my wife's backpack. And it was my wife's favorite backpack that she would go hiking with. It had a like a plastic bladder in it with a straw so she could drink water while she was hiking and carry things and all that. So anyway, I would always use it to be around the house to carry things like this, which are my chompers that when I drop something I can pick it up off the floor. And my wife and I always were kind of back and forth joking about how, you confiscated, you stole that backpack from me. And one day I was sitting in my office here and I looked at the backpack and I realized why I had kind of stole it from her and why I didn't want her to have it. And it was because if I just had it out where she could take it back, then she would go hiking with it. And if she went hiking, I couldn't join her physically. And so, I had this deep-seated fear, this insecurity that she would be on the trail, hiking by herself, and meet a guy who was hiking there with her. And he would be all charming, and, she would like, I like hiking with this guy. Maybe this guy would be a better choice to mate with and to be, in love with than my husband. And it was this real fear that I had, and not that my wife is anything like that, but fears don't have to make sense. And so I told this to her, and I apologized, and I said, here's your backpack back, because I don't want to live a life where I'm holding you back from doing the things that you love because I'm worried you're going to leave me. I'm like, that's not what I married into. I trust you, that this isn't about thinking that you're going to cheat on me. This is about my fear that I'm not enough for you. And she laughed, and she, accepted my apology, but she laughed. She said, don't you think I knew what I was getting into when I married you? You're a 3-foot tall man in a wheelchair. Of course you're not going to, be able to go hiking with me whenever I want. And she's like, but I don't care, because I like to hike by myself. I don't like to have people talking to me. I like to be in nature and kind of meditate by myself. So there's a reason why I didn't choose a guy who can hike. And so it just goes to show that our insecurities aren't real. They're based on our feelings that we're not enough. Because let's say my wife did actually go on a hike, and that she actually did find somebody that she liked hiking with, and let's say she actually wanted to be with that guy. If I was insecure, I would be just so scared, and I would hold on to that forever. But truthfully, as I continue to shed my insecurities, I would say that if you don't want to be with me, then you need to go. And it would pain me to lose you, but to have you in a marriage with me where you feel trapped, where you don't feel like you got the best person that you wanted, then you need to leave. And that level of security, to know that I would find somebody else, to know that I would be okay on my own, that's the level of security that I'm seeking in this existence. It's not to hold things tightly and fear that they never leave me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the question I want to ask you is, you think, you read the book Radical Honesty?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think it's more or less this, you're being very honest, and the weakness becomes your greatest strength. So you think it would work in a business environment?
Yes and no. So you're saying, would vulnerability work in a business environment?
Yes. To be so honest about your feelings.
Yes and no. I don't think it's anybody's right to know what you're afraid of. I think that can be. I think there's a time and a place to share what you're afraid of, because some people could take that to their advantage, and harm you with it. I think that vulnerability is important to tell people what you're really wanting out of the scenario, out of the situation, out of the relationship. I tell people right up front that there's 2 ways that they can hire me as a coach. One-on-one for an hour for $350 an hour, or for a whole day with me where I am there in real life, not just on Skype, and that's $10,000 US at the time that we made this program. Mm-hmm. And I tell them I would appreciate it if you went with the $10,000 option, because that puts a lot more money in my pocket, but I also know that it would be a lot more value to you to be able to spend that much time with me one-on-one in person. So by sharing your agenda and being honest in that regard, I think it is important. I don't think you have to tell somebody, I'd really hope that you would be my client because I could really use the money because my kid's tuition is coming up and my car just broke down, and you start sharing your sob story. No one wants to hear that. And not only do they not want to hear that, it makes them afraid that you're just trying to get money out of them and you really don't care about their life. So I think vulnerability has some caveats. It has some parameters to it. I don't think it's about just vomiting out every little bit of your backstory.
Mm-hmm. Great. So I'd like to hear from you. You have a program, Alpha. You still do this program? The Alpha Male?
Well, right now it's on the back burner because I've gotten so many people requesting to do the speaking, to learn about me, to learn about how to speak from me. And so I decided to put that on the back burner. I'm not saying it's never going to come out, but right now it's not my focus. That in August of this year, I'm doing this live event that scares me to do on speaking. And then after that, I'll revisit whether or not I'm going to do that alpha program. But the program you're referring to is a training that I was going to be offering to men about how to get in touch with their confidence. And I think that that will happen. It's just the timing is not right now.
Great, great. So, and about your speaking program, you're really going to teach us to make $10,000 an hour?
Absolutely. So I've been doing this for 20 years now, and I've been paid as much as $30,000 for 1 hour, and there's a formula. There's things that you have to do. There's things that you have to say from your message, your specific message. There's ways that you have to market. There's a lot you have to do to understand how to break into this industry. And most people do what I did. They spend 20 years learning the hard way. I would like to help people shave that time off considerably, and within a matter of a few months or maybe a year, get to the point where they have a lucrative business that they're telling their story, sharing their expertise, getting paid to be on stage $10,000 an hour or more.
And you think that anyone can do that?
I think somebody who is willing to put in the time and the effort, yes. I don't think that people who just want to get rich and don't want to bring value can do it. No. I think you have to have your desire for money and your desire for purpose to help people. They have to be aligned. And then if they are, yes.
Great, great. So, Sean, thank you very much. I know you have a busy schedule and your time is very valuable. So I thank you. I thank you for all the audience here from Brazil. I don't think many people in Brazil know you because your work didn't come, but I'm committed to spread your message.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you. So, Sean, I think that's it. You have anything else to say that you can promote? You want to promote your services, your products, contacts?
Yeah, I'm going to type into the I am window of the website that I'm going to encourage people to go to.
Great.
It's Sean Stephenson Speaking Secrets.
Great.
.com. Sean Stephenson SpeakingSecrets.com. And that's all I got for you. All right, my friend. Thank you for having me on your program.
Thank you very much, Sean. It was an honor. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Be well. Take care. You too. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.